Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 28th day of August, 2018. Let's make sure the volume is up here. I think it is. Yeah, it is. The ducks have joined us again today. You can see the pond in back of me. It's got a bunch of cattail pollen all over it, so it looks like a oil slick out there today. Well, today, numerologically, without looking at the year, figuring that into it, that's today is a 9-day or a completion. Don't you love it when notifications come up on your computer? It's like, no, I don't want to renew now. I've only had the computer for just a short time. It's like they want me to renew things already. It's like, no. It's awful when inanimate objects tell you what to do, isn't it? And what's this whole Alexa thing? I don't understand that. I don't know. How automated do you really want your life? I don't get that. So like, Alexa, turn this on. Alexa, do this. Alexa, do that. No. I don't even have Siri activated on anything. I tried to do it on my Mac, my Mac laptop, my MacBook Pro. Every time I talk to her, she doesn't understand anything I say. So what's the point? I don't know if I didn't set it up right or what, but I just think that we can automate ourselves right out of existence. I don't really see what the whole point of it is. You know, get up and shut the door, get up and turn off the light. You know, don't have some computer do it for you. Pretty soon you have no purpose anymore. Let's count 13 and see what we have for today. Oh, a court card rewarding me. King of Wands. Here we have the king sitting on his throne, holding his staff. There's a salamander or some kind of lizard down there at the bottom. Kings are authoritarian or authority figures. They can be authoritarian. They can also be benevolent. The King of Wands is an interesting one because Wands is the fire element, so you're talking about someone who's very dynamic. He's going to be, he can be both generous, but he can also be very cruel and bigoted. Hi, Peep. You want something to eat, don't you? Well, you know, babies, what are you going to do? You got to feed them. All right, here. All right, there you go. There you go. Now I've got cracked corn dust all over my hand. Anyway, the King of Wands, anyway, they're typically outgoing and passionate and no, go on now. But they're energetic and they can be a warrior. Go on, guys. They can be a warrior. But you can see the his red gown or robe or whatever you want to call it. That denotes, you know, Mars energy, so fire and passion and but you know, he can also use that to when he's not ill dignified, he can use that in a powerful way that's benevolent instead of, you know, autocratic and bigoted. We have we get to see that play out these days, don't we? You can have the King of Wands who can transcend the pettiness of the world and you know, be above it all and set the example, set the tone. No, go away, Pete. Go on now. Both of you, go. A third one has joined us today. I don't even know who it is. But anyway, the ducks are over there. But you can have, the king can be benevolent and generous, but he can also be prideful. So perhaps this represents an individual in your life, or perhaps it represents some qualities you're experiencing in yourself. But let's see what another card says, because, with a court card, we're going to pull another card every time. 2, 6, 7, 10, 13. Well, here we have the Two of Cups. And this is about balanced exchange. You can see the couple are exchanging, well, it's sort of you've got the caduceus above. And cups are about your emotions. It's the water element. So you've got this couple here that's basically exchanging love between each other, or loving commitment, it could be. But you're dealing with a young couple who's basically starting their life out. Perhaps they're getting married. Perhaps it's a hand fasting. It doesn't show it as a hand fasting. So it could be just a more traditional type of marriage. But that could be what this is. It can mean healing and love and equality, balanced polarity, reconciliation, reciprocity. But it's a balanced exchange with others, is basically what this is. And so that should be informing the king. That sort of experience should be informing the king. And if it does, then what we'll see then is a king that expresses benevolence, that may rule, that may want to, that, it clearly is the leader, but is leading from this position of benevolent strength instead of autocratic strength. So if you're in a position of authority over others, you might think about how it is you extend that authority to others. Are you doing it in a way that's respectful, while at the same time saying, here are the boundaries, here's what we're going to do. But at the same time, it could be done in a way that is compassionate and caring and thinking about the needs of others. Wouldn't it be interesting if we drew Gebo from the rune bag? Balanced energy exchange. So let's see what I draw. We'll let them fall. The runes fall through my fingers. I don't look. I just stick my hand in the bag and just sort of let them fall through my fingers. And when one's left, that's the rune. I use the same procedure when I'm doing bind runes. I just let the runes decide what's going to go into the bind rune. I set the intention and then draw the runes. Well, this is Thurisaz, and I think we drew this yesterday. Thurisaz is not just about defense, it's about breaking through. And it seems to me that in terms of, it's the third rune of the Elder Futhark, so right there, 3 is catalytic. And so we think about that, we think of, Thurisaz being Thor's rune. And so we think of the symbol itself representing Mjolnir, or his hammer. But we want to catalyze change. And so apparently the change we want to catalyze today is reconciliation. There's a lot of toxic stuff happening. And of course, as human beings, we want to label everything. And every time we label something, I don't remember which physicist said this. I keep trying to find out, and I read it, but I don't know. But anytime you name something, you limit it. And the thing about it is every time we label one another, we limit our expectations. Sometimes they're grandiose and they're beyond what they should be, but that's a limiting factor, isn't it? Because no one can meet them. Um, but basically, when we're talking about labeling people, we're talking about, in this case, the toxic vibration that's going around. We talk about toxic masculinity. We talk about uh, toxic feminism, or toxic this, toxic that. It's like when we get so wrapped up in our own premise, our own ideology, we can't see the other side of everything. We think that, and we always think too, that it's like dark and light are opposites. Well, no, they're not. You have this concept of vibration, say, and some of it's dark, some of it's light, or you could say color, and a thing called color. Colors are dark, some are light. So consequently, it's just two halves of the same whole. And we forget that when we think about polarity. We only think in terms of one of them. We don't think in terms of understanding that we possess both within. And so when you have a king who's an authority figure, what you're trying to do here, what the other card is suggesting, the Two of Cups is suggesting, that the king has got to be aware of the balanced polarity within, and the king, or whatever authority figure, we're calling it a king today because it's the King of Wands. It could be anyone really, anybody in a position of authority. How do you balance that in a way that doesn't allow for toxicity to happen within you? Even if you're talking about being your own authority, even if you're talking about standing in your own power, how do you do that in a way that's balanced, where it maintains a nice, healthy balance between the masculine and feminine, or the projective and the receptive within? And so I think that that's basically what this is talking about. And then when we talk about Thurisaz, how do we catalyze that change, within us? How do we express it with others? I have a duck standing on my foot. Hi, hi, Peep. Is it Peep? Yeah, it is. I can tell because he has this little white spot on his back, and he's the only duck that has it. So that's kind of cool. We can always know unless he loses it at some point. But I know, like maybe a feather needs to grow back or something. I don't know. It's still there though. But anyway, when we're talking about polarity, we need to catalyze that balance, perhaps. Bring about a change that isn't so much given toward one type of energy, one type of vibration. We can overdo it with somebody, or we can not stand up for ourselves when we need to speak up and we don't. um, it reflects something that's not really in balance. A balanced individual would be more apt to just say, look, they wouldn't get crazy about it, they wouldn't get in your face about it, but they say, I'm not happy about that. This is not comfortable for me, or can we try something different? So they find a way to reason and bring reason into and balance into the whole discussion. So, or into the interaction. So it just seems to me today what this is about is how are we going to catalyze a balanced exchange with others in a way that preserves everyone's integrity, so that we can all stand in our own power, so that we're all heard, and that we understand that there's a greater good involved, but at the same time, we all feel heard in the process, and we all feel respected in the process. So that's kind of interesting. The King of Wands, the Two of Cups, and Thurisaz. How about that? Well, you know what? It's not too smoky. We actually did a walk this morning, so this is going to get posted a little bit later than it typically does. But we got to do a walk this morning, and hopefully the smoke is going to go away, and the fires are going to end, and we can all get back to, you know, finishing out the gardens and doing our harvest and doing the final weeding and cutting things back for winter. Up on the high desert, that happens a little sooner. We're at about 3,000 feet here. just 15 miles up the road, they're at about 5,000 feet. So we do things a little. Our growing season is shorter here, and so we have to start things inside and not rely so much on the year itself. I have apples everywhere on the ground. The ducks are just waiting for them to start to rot, and then they'll eat them. And then they're funny because they literally waddle and almost drag themselves along on the ground. They eat so many apples. And no, we don't kill the ducks, so no, there's no apple-fed ducks. So anyway, I'm gonna go now and go work in the garden. So y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm Jan Erickson with Stepping Aside, and this has been Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune. Blessed be.